Disney may be widely viewed as the top of the animation studio ladder, but Dreamworks has also carved out its own reputation as one of the industry's top dogs, telling stories of unlikely heroes facing tremendous odds and villains who give the baddies at the House of Mouse a run for their money. But sometimes, even the most capable heroes need a helping hand. Among these reliable helpers and sidekicks, who is the most good and who is the most evil? Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is Dreamworks Sidekicks, Good to Evil. For this list, we'll be covering characters in Dreamworks films that fall under the category of sidekicks. Like with our Disney list, some of these characters have also earned the spot of being a vital enemy, but also fit nicely into the sidekick category. As usual, we'll be starting with the most pure and noble character and working our way down. These characters are the good. Starting off our good list, we have Donkey. The first to warm up to Shrek, he's gone from comic relief to being a much-needed companion. Donkey pushes Shrek to admit his feelings for Fiona in the first film, even if it meant challenging Shrek and getting him angry.
Now it's my turn, so you just shut up and pay attention!
He's not a confrontational creature, speaking up only when he thinks people need to be set straight. He called out Arthur for abandoning Shrek, making it clear that the ogre was only trying to protect him. Even without any memory of Shrek under Rumpelstiltskin's deal, Donkey still warmed up to Shrek and sympathized with his struggle. He also got the Dragon of the Keep on their side, making her a valuable ally for the rest of the movies. Next up, we have the Night Fury, Toothless, the beast that made a whole generation of kids want a pet dragon. He was not fond of Hiccup initially, but he can't be blamed for his fear and anger, considering Hiccup shot him down. But once the young Viking gained the dragon's trust, Toothless was willing to do whatever it took to protect his rider. Time and time again, Toothless risked his well-being to save Hiccup as well as other riders.
Thank you for saving my son.
The only time Toothless goes against Hiccup is when he's protecting his new mate, the Light Fury. But we can understand why. Night Furies only have one mate their entire lives. Up next is a lesser-known ally, Little Creek from Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. A Lakota native, he met Spirit as they were both being held captive. Little Creek had a clear admiration of the stallion from the beginning and had a deep respect and understanding for the creature's need to be free. He was attached to his horse Rain, making sure he was with her as she tried to heal from her injuries. After the native was saved by Spirit, he travels to find the stallion again and saves the horse from being killed while used for labor on the railroad. Once they trust each other, they're able to finally escape their enemies and each return to their homes to live out their lives. This film is one of the more underappreciated of the Dreamworks releases. Though it isn't the most historically accurate, like many animated films that play with history, we would highly recommend giving it a watch for the friendship Spirit and Little Creek develop. Next, we have another familiar face from the Shrek movies, Puss in Boots. Though he was originally meant to assassinate Shrek on behalf of the king, Puss had changed his tone when Shrek spared his life. He repaid his debt to the ogre by assisting in stealing the happily ever after potion from the fairy godmother and helped get Shrek back together with Fiona when Charming tried stealing her away.
Today, I repay my debt.
Who didn't get chills when he told Shrek to go on ahead as he held back the oncoming troops? Even after his life debt was repaid, Puss went on to help retrieve Arthur to take the throne. When everything was erased due to Shrek's contract with Rumpelstiltskin, Puss had been hesitant to help, happy with the lazy life he had among the ogres. When he saw how Shrek and Fiona connected, he decided to help save the ogres and get Shrek and Fiona to share true love's kiss to break the contract. Whether he's looking out for Fiona's happiness or Shrek, Puss always has the well-being of his friends in mind. Next, we have to include the infamous Furious 5. We covered all of them separately in our Good to Evil of the Kung Fu Panda films, but we wanted to discuss them as a team for this list. All of them have a unique method of utilizing Kung Fu, and respect Shifu for taking them in and giving them a chance to be protectors of the valley. We dropped them lower due to their first reactions towards Po, making it clear that he didn't belong with them and had no place being the Dragon Warrior, even if he had been chosen.
You don't belong in the Jade Palace.
Though they eventually accept a panda on their team, they still clearly struggle with following orders, with Mantis getting himself and Crane captured by Kai and being used to take the rest of their team down. But there's no doubt that when they have a common goal, they work in perfect sync, as seen when they confronted Tai Lung. We also grant them points for Tigris being able to get to Po all the way up in the mountains to warn him about Kai, and helping Po through his trauma when taking on Shen. We're fans of canine companions on this channel, so we felt we had to mention Spike. He's Sinbad's pet, and was very at home living on the high seas and helping take on various obstacles.
If he starts hugging your leg, it means he likes you.
He's having the time of his life while flying at enemy ships, and rushes to keep the men from going overboard when they're tempted by the sirens. Spike was the first of the crew to warm up to Marina, guilting Sinbad for being cold towards her. An overall good boy to everyone. With that said, we've arrived at the neutral territory. These characters fall in the gray area. Taking our next spot on our list is Branch. Even after the first film, Branch is the least approachable among the trolls. His experience of losing his grandmother caused him to feel such guilt. He tried to give up singing and partying, opting instead to hide away from the Bergens. But he also traveled and aided Poppy to make sure she didn't take on the challenge of saving everyone herself. Even though Branch firmly believed everyone was already eaten, he still refused to let Poppy fight alone.
How do you always look on the bright side?
In the second film, Branch took the hit to protect Poppy again, this time from being turned into a zombie of rock and roll. Though he can be difficult, he's a determined guy and a valuable friend. Next up is Oscar's friend, Angie. Shark Tale was a hit-and-miss film among many, but whether you like the film or not, Angie is a fun character. She was always torn between enabling Oscar and his bad habits of being late to work, slacking off, and get-rich-quick schemes, and calling him out for hiding Lenny and lying to everyone.
You lied! Everybody thinks you slayed the shark!
Angie was the main motivation that revealed everything Oscar and Lenny had lied about, and got Oscar to realize what was really important in life. Next on our list is Belt.
This is Belt, cook, conversationalist, navigator.
Before Guy had met the Croods family, Belt was his only companion. By the time the events of the first film come around, Belt is on par with Guy's energy and takes an active role in helping to gather food and ward off predators. He understands how Eep and Guy feel about each other, concerned at the start of the film, and then trying to give them reasons to grow closer. Next up, we have Adam Flayman from B-Movie, Barry's longtime friend. We had to place him lower since he causes some issues for Barry before aiding in the trial. Adam was content with having one job the rest of his life and couldn't understand Barry's fixation on wanting more. When he finds out that Barry's involved in humans and trying to take them to court, he calls out Barry in front of Barry's family. Eventually, Adam came around to help during the trial and was vital at one point to buy them time to gain evidence, even though he had just gotten out of the hospital. He was the reason Barry was able to finally win his case, and when things began dying off, Adam got Barry to appreciate how important the role of a bee was. Finally, we've reached the dark side. These characters are the bad and the evil. Next on this list, we have Shell. The Road to El Dorado is one of the older Dreamworks films that deserves all the praise, not only because of the art and music, but also the fun characters that become more relatable the older you get. Shell is one of those female leads that knows exactly what to say to get what she wants from people. She assists Miguel and Tulio in scamming the city to get as much gold from them as possible. She's able to use her knowledge growing up in the culture to explain away any odd choices the duo makes, and is happy to have a chance to hook up with Tulio, even if it meant breaking apart a long-time friendship. However, we also give her some slack since we never fully learn her reasoning for wanting to leave El Dorado so badly. At first, she's already on the run with some treasure hidden in a piece of fabric, and when Tulio and Miguel question her, she states she wants to be able to explore the world, but hints that there might be more to it.
You've got your reasons, and I've got mine.
Since we never see her family or see her speak with anyone that can be deemed a longtime friend, we can only imagine that Shell grew up an outcast and wanted to seek a better life for herself. While she was a main motivation for the conflict, we feel Penny from Mr. Peabody and Sherman earned the title of Sidekick after tagging along on their adventure back home. We can't place her lower in the list since she is a small child who likely doesn't fully understand the weight of her actions. She gets redemption points for helping Peabody and Sherman by the end of the film, but her behavior in the beginning was appalling. Penny took to bullying Sherman simply because she was no longer the shining star in her class. She wasn't able to stand being out of the spotlight, so she degraded Sherman in front of everyone, provoking an otherwise sweet kid to lash out.
Let me go!
Not until you beg like a dog.
The reason she gets trapped in Egypt is because she insists on Sherman showing her the time machine and then refuses to leave the ancient city when she gets the idea to marry King Tut and keep all of his money. Thank goodness she changed her tone. Up next is Maurice from the Madagascar films. If there ever was a fun portrayal of a corrupt advisor, Maurice is it. He knows good and well that Julian is not fit to be in charge of anything. But unlike many who try to rise to power by killing off the people employing them, Maurice is content with being on the sidelines where he doesn't have to be liable if things mess up. He knows that Julian, despite his weird antics, is well liked. All Maurice is concerned about is living a comfortable life, where he doesn't have to worry about how to find food or being hunted by predators.
Looked more like he was tasting him to me.
Maurice was even okay with sending an animal as a sacrifice into a volcano just to give the other animals hope that it would bring back the water, which leads us to question just how many other dangerous and insane ideas he okayed for Julian to carry out, only speaking up to remind the others that success was only a 50-50 chance. Taking our second place of evil, we have Minion. While his friendly smile and upbeat attitude may make him come off as a good guy, we have to acknowledge that for a large portion of the film, he was happy doing evil at Megamind's side. He was shaken when Megamind wanted to change his ways after becoming close with Roxanne, demanding that Megamind go back to being the great villain he was, stating that the bad guy never gets the girl.
The bad guy doesn't get the girl.
Plus, we have to take into account the crimes Minion pulled off: overthrowing a government, vandalism, theft, breaking into a maximum security prison, impersonating an officer. Luckily, by the end, Minion was able to take on the role of a hero. We cut him some slack since we get that he likely didn't understand that there were other options to life. After all, he and Megamind took to being evil because they were labeled as troubled children and raised in a prison surrounded by guys who applauded their misdeeds. Taking our last spot, we have to mention the witches that worked for Rumpelstiltskin. While the fairy tale villains have been utilized before, this was different from the average mob mentality we saw under Charming's influence. The witches seemed to enjoy having Rumpelstiltskin in power, not only because of their freedom to do as they pleased, but we get the impression that the relationship wasn't completely professional, with numerous witches acting like groupies.
Baba! I need a bounty hunter.
But however the method used, they delighted in being able to hunt down the ogres under the contract maker's orders. The only reason they failed was because Shrek was able to successfully pull off the loophole that had been written in. Alright, but what do you think? Who are the most good and evil sidekicks of Dreamworks? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.